Hello, my name's Vicky Blackwell. I'm a child and adolescent psychotherapist. I do lots and lots of work with lots and lots of children. Some are foster children, some are adopted children, and some children live in their birth families. Usually, the majority of my work, they've experienced some form of trauma or they've lived through some fearful, scary events in their lives. And my role is to help them understand their fear symptoms and how it's affecting their lives and how these symptoms can be soothed. So within this work, I really wanted to help children to understand what fear was. So I decided to write a book to help myself and them in the work to understand this. I have the book here. It's called What is Fear? I got some help from a lovely lady called Minty B who did the illustrations for me. And then several times I've used this with various different children to help them understand some of the ways that they're behaving, which are often very much misunderstood. I wrote this book some time ago now. However, because of COVID-19 and because of the various different ways that we feel fear and how that might be going on for us in our own lives and in our own families, I've decided to share this video and share my book so it can be passed on to other people. So what is fear? We can see the guy on the front. He looks a little bit wobbly. He's got various different things going on in his body, his heart, his tummy, his head, his eyes are wide. Fear is a common and everyday human emotion. We are often being brave or disguising it. Some may not even recognize it, and sadly, some are living in fear every day of their lives, which is pretty much what some people are living with right now with COVID-19. Understanding fear and noticing it within ourselves can help us to understand ourselves and find ways to soothe our fear symptoms. Everyone is different. We can't get rid of fear. It is something that helps us to survive. It's part of our survival system. So we can't get rid of fear. However, when we know that we're suffering from fear symptoms, we can find things that soothe ourselves. And like the book says, everybody's different. Those things that may soothe one person may not suit the next, and that's fine. We've got to find our own way. So what does it feel like to be safe? If we can remember, it's been a long time since we've properly felt safe, I guess. So let's remind ourselves. When I feel safe, and we've got another little illustration here of a guy who's looking quite relaxed. He's smiling, his body looks loose, he's got his arms behind his back, he looks quite restful and relaxed and open. When I feel safe, I feel good. When we feel good, we're ready to explore the world. We're curious about life. We're curious about people. We want to engage. We're feeling like we want to be a part of this world. We also want to connect with others. We feel like we want to play. We can be silly and playful. We've got nothing to worry about. We're not worried about what's happening next. We're not worried about whether we're going to cope and survive. So therefore, there's space for play. We're able to share our feelings and emotions because we know that other people are safe, because we feel safe, the world is safe, and therefore we find everything easy to share, and we find talking about ourselves and our problems and our feelings and our issues easier than when we're scared. So when we feel worried, what happens then? Let's have a look. So there's various different things that can cause us to feel worry. So as this little guy here, which is the same guy in the front, it says here that my feelings can become too much. Sometimes we're suffering from big feelings like loss and grief and sadness and shame. And sometimes these feelings are so big, they're often so big for children that they often can feel scared when they're feeling these big feelings. It's often that fear comes with them because these feelings are too big to cope with for children. And then also here, my mind might not cope. So when there's lots to think about, lots to work out, lots to worry about, sometimes just the act of worrying too much can make us feel scared and activate our fear systems and our fear symptoms. And then also for some people, especially those who have experienced things where their bodies have been hurt in some ways, children that have been into hospital or have been in an accident often spend a lot of their time worrying about their bodies being hurt again, and that can be a real big thing. I imagine in COVID-19 we're also worried about catching the virus and being poorly. When I feel worried, I have a busy mind. My heartbeat gets faster. So remember, I said there's lots of physical symptoms when we feel fear. Our heart beats faster, our chest gets tighter, it becomes harder to breathe. We can get stomach problems. It may affect the way we go to the toilet. We can start feeling a bit sick. We feel those butterflies or fluttery feelings in our tummy. And sometimes the feelings that we've been talking about, the big feelings, wanting to cry, wanting to shout, wanting to scream, wanting to get angry, all these feelings are very difficult to contain and hold in our bodies. We want to let them all out when we feel so frightened. And sometimes they come out like a big explosion when we're frightened. So let's just have a look at the fear scale. So this guy here, when he feels nice and safe, he's saying there's no fear, he's nice and relaxed, he's got no problems, no worries, he's all right. And then we start to feel a little bit of discomfort. Oh, something's not quite right here. Should I be worried about this? You start questioning your surroundings and your environment and the people within your environment, and start wondering about that, and you start maybe feeling a bit of discomfort. And then perhaps you might start to feel anxious, and then you might start to feel some of these symptoms here. Busy-minded, your heartbeat, your fluttery feelings, they might affect the way you sleep, the way you eat, and the way you actually connect with others. And then if this continues, it may worsen, and you may start to feel really fearful and really afraid, so much so that you start to become into a panic mode. And then, as you can see, when we get panicked, we can go into what we call overwhelm. And that's an example of what someone might look like when they're overwhelmed, or what someone might feel like on the inside when they feel overwhelmed. Very scared, very chaotic, very wobbly. So what happens next when we feel overwhelmed? Well, this is where people do things differently. Some people go into fight mode, some people go into flight mode, some people go into freeze mode, and some people do all three. So this guy gets a little bit bolshy, a little bit fighty, a little bit aggressive, let's say. And this guy goes into flight mode or hide mode, wants to run away, wants to hide away. So when I say in fight mode, it doesn't necessarily mean we want to fight with everybody, but it's part of what we call the fight response system. So the behaviours might be wanting to be in control, becoming a bit bossy, wanting to be the boss, telling people what to do, not doing things that other people tell you to do, wanting to do it your own way, feeling that you need to be in that control. You may become a bit argumentative. You don't want to take what other people say, you want to do it your own way, so that causes some conflict and some arguments. And of course, you may actually attack people if you're feeling really, really scared, and actually people feel like they're being scary towards you. You may actually feel like you want to hurt them or actually physically attack them. So on flight mode, it's quite the opposite. In fight mode, you want more from people, you want people to, you're in need of people. In flight mode, it's the opposite. You don't want to be with people, you avoid people, you hide away from people, you want to run away. So in flight mode, I prefer to look after myself. I hide my feelings. It's hard to be with others, and I may want to hide. So these people who tend to withdraw, not tell you what's the matter, go very, very quiet, very hard to engage with, and they want to look after themselves and they don't let other people look after them. And then there's freeze. So freeze is when we don't do anything as such, we just freeze. And sometimes when we do that, we actually go into a state of a daydream almost, where we kind of like check out from the reality of our situation that's quite scary and go to a place that's less scary. It says here, I feel nothing and it's safer for me not to be here. His physical body is there in the room. However, in his mind, he's gone somewhere else, which is a different place, a safer place, away from the scary event that he's facing or the scary situation, and has gone into a daydream. Now, I don't know where he goes into his daydream. He might go to somewhere really nice, but actually it's not real. and that's not great to stay in that place for a long time. So you might feel that when you're in this state and then somebody asks you to do something, you're almost a bit like a robot. So you go along with the action. Yeah, I'll do that, but actually you're not present. You're not in the actual situation. You actually become somebody else, somebody who can actually cope with the situation that's not actually truly you. And that's really sad to think that that happens, but it happens a lot. So how do we notice that these things are happening to us? How do we notice? So when we see somebody being a bit bossy, we're not going to straight away think, oh, they're feeling scared, but actually they might feel scared. Or somebody that's hiding away in a corner or hiding away in their bedrooms or being very, very quiet. Will we know that they're feeling scared? Will we acknowledge that they're feeling scared? Or when somebody is acting differently and you don't feel like they're being real and you can't really connect with that person, do we know that they're actually probably feeling scared about something? And it's our jobs actually to try and bring them back into a world where they can be safe with adults and their carers and parents. And that's sometimes a bit tricky, but that's what we must try and do to help these people. So what can we do? What can we do to notice? The first thing is to notice. Notice how fear affects us. What happens to us? What are the clues that we are feeling safe? They are different for everybody. Some people keep themselves busy and go into action mode and must do more. Some people quieten down and do less and become sloppy and slouchy and are not able to function properly and a little bit daydreamy. Some people struggle to sleep. Some people struggle to eat. Some people get shaky. Some people's heartbeats. Some people can't breathe properly and get panicky. There are tons of different things that we need to notice. What is interesting usually is that when we are affected by fear, it affects the way that we relate to others. So we often find our relationships become more trickier when we're scared. So that's always an indicator when things are going on within relationships. So you're not quite connecting with people properly, you're not quite understanding each other, there's a little bit of conflict. It might be an indicator that people are feeling not safe about something. So something to check out with the other person. So what do we do when we're feeling all these feelings? Some of the most basic, simple things in life actually are the best for fear. Fear is very primal. It's very within our bodies. So some of the most simple things in life, like eating and going out in nature and having a nice soak in the bath, lying comfortable in our beds and lying comfortable on the sofa, drinking warm drinks, going for walks, listening to meditation music, relaxing music, all of that stuff can help us relax. Hugs, being close to people. Sometimes it's really hard to be close to people when we're feeling safe, but hugs can release chemicals in our brain that helps our bodies calm down. If we are not able to hug in that state, we can get quilt covers and wrap quilt covers around us and drink warm drinks. All that sensation of warmth and comfort going through our bodies that can actually soothe our systems down. Different sorts of food, so the chewier and the crunchier the food, the more regulating it is for us. If we're drinking drinks, the thicker, more slurpier drinks can actually, the more harder we have to use our mouths, our jaws to chew and suck and crunch, the more we use our jaws, the more regulating it is for us. If we're able to tolerate touch, massaging, strokes, stroking the head, stroking the hands, creating an environment of safety is important too. So quiet time, think about noise levels, think about screen times. Is it appropriate to put the screen on for such length of time when we really need to connect and feel safe with people? Locking doors, doing activities that are just easy and not too strenuous. Don't go into must do mode. It's not helpful when we're feeling safe. Quieting the activities down, sticking together, doing some of the really simple things in life can be the most effective for fear. And I think that we all need to recognize that we need to slow down and bring more of these activities into our lives when we're dealing with COVID-19 and all the other things that COVID-19 and fear brings into our lives. I hope that this has been helpful. Please share with people who you think that this video would be helpful for. Thank you. I'll see you again.